The 90s were a golden era for RPGs, and if you were lucky enough to own a Sega Genesis, chances are Shining Force 2 was one of the gems in your collection. Released in 1993, this game wasn't just a sequel. It was a massive upgrade that expanded on everything the original Shining Force had to offer. Shining Force 2 brought tactical RPGs into the spotlight with its addictive blend of strategic gameplay, an expansive world to explore, and a story that pulled you in from the very first battle. Whether you spent hours meticulously planning each move on the battlefield or simply getting lost in its rich, pixelated world, Shining Force 2 delivered an experience that has stood the test of time. Before we move on, please hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our retro gaming deep dives. At the heart of Shining Force 2 lies a captivating story that takes players on an epic journey through the fantasy world of Grand Seal. The game begins with a classic premise. A mysterious thief steals a precious jewel from a shrine, unknowingly unleashing a great evil upon the land. Players step into the shoes of Bowie, a young swordsman and the leader of the Shining Force, a group of heroes destined to protect the kingdom. What starts as a simple mission to recover the stolen jewel quickly escalates into a quest to save the world from Xeon, the devilish entity now threatening to plunge Grand Seal into darkness. Unlike its predecessor, Shining Force 2 presents a more open-ended and non-linear narrative, giving players the freedom to explore the world at their own pace. This shift allowed for a deeper level of immersion, as players could venture into different towns, dungeons, and secret areas, uncovering side stories and hidden characters along the way. This freedom to explore was groundbreaking for the time, setting Shining Force 2 apart from other RPGs that often adhered to a more rigid structure. The story is rich with memorable moments and plot twists that keep players engaged from beginning to end. As Bowie and his allies journey across the land, they encounter a diverse cast of characters, each with their own motivations and backstories. From the loyal centaur Knightchester to the powerful spellcaster Kazin, the characters in Shining Force 2 are more than just party members, they are integral parts of the narrative, each contributing to the overarching story in meaningful ways. As the game progresses, Bowie and the Shining Force face increasingly dangerous foes, culminating in a final showdown against Xeon himself. The stakes are high, and the journey to the final battle is filled with challenges that test both the player's strategic thinking and emotional investment in the story. Shining Force 2 expertly balances moments of triumph and tragedy, making the player feel the weight of their decisions and the impact of their actions on the world of Grand Seal. One of the standout aspects of Shining Force 2's storyline is its ability to blend traditional RPG elements with a more personal, character-driven narrative. While the main plot revolves around saving the world, the game never loses sight of the individual stories that make up the Shining Force. Each character has their own personal journey, and as they grow and develop throughout the game, players form a deep connection with them. In the end, the story of Shining Force 2 is one of heroism, sacrifice, and the triumph of good over evil. It's a tale that resonates with players not just because of its epic scale, but because of the personal connections they form with the characters and the world. Decades after its release, Shining Force 2's story remains a shining example of what made RPGs from the 90s so unforgettable. Shining Force 2 takes the tactical RPG formula and perfects it, offering gameplay that is both accessible for newcomers and deeply satisfying for seasoned strategists. At its core, the game features turn-based grid-style combat where players control a diverse roster of characters, each with their own unique abilities, classes, and progression paths. The game's combat system is deceptively simple, yet rich in strategic depth. Each battle takes place on a grid, where positioning your units is crucial to success. Terrain plays a significant role, with forests, mountains, and rivers affecting movement and defense. The key to victory lies in understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your characters, knowing when to advance your knights into the thick of battle, when to keep your archers at a safe distance, and when to unleash powerful spells from your mages. The game encourages thoughtful planning, rewarding players who take the time to consider each move rather than rushing headlong into combat. Character progression is another highlight of Shining Force 2. As your characters gain experience through battles, they level up, becoming stronger and learning new abilities. At a certain point, they can be promoted to more advanced classes, which not only enhances their stats, but also unlocks new skills and equipment. Exploration is a key aspect of Shining Force 2 that distinguishes it from other tactical RPGs of its era. The game world is expansive and filled with secrets waiting to be uncovered. Between battles, players can roam freely across the overworld, visit towns, and explore dungeons. One of the most satisfying aspects of the gameplay is the sheer variety of characters available to recruit. With over 30 characters to choose from, each with distinct classes such as warriors, centaurs, mages, archers, and even more exotic units like phoenixes and robots, assembling your ideal team is a rewarding challenge. The game's difficulty curve is well balanced, providing a steady challenge without ever feeling unfair. Early battles serve as a tutorial of sorts, introducing players to the basics of movement, combat, and unit management. As the game progresses, the complexity ramps up, with tougher enemies, more intricate battlefields, and greater demands on your strategic thinking. In addition to the main storyline, Shining Force 2 offers a wealth of optional content that adds replayability. From secret characters to hidden items and optional battles, there's always a reason to return to the game and explore new strategies. This combination of deep strategic combat, character progression, and open-ended exploration makes Shining Force 2 not just a great RPG, but one of the defining games of the Sega Genesis era. The music of Shining Force 2 is one of the key elements that solidifies its place in the pantheon of classic RPGs. Composed by Motoaki Takenouchi, the soundtrack perfectly captures the epic scope and emotional depth of the game, enhancing every moment of the player's journey through Grand Seal. From the moment you first hear the stirring opening theme, it's clear that the music is more than just background noise. It's an integral part of the game's atmosphere, helping to immerse players in the world and drive the narrative forward. One of the standout features of Shining Force 2's soundtrack is its ability to evoke a wide range of emotions. The music shifts seamlessly from triumphant and heroic to tense and foreboding, matching the tone of the game's story and battles. The battle themes in particular are iconic high-energy tracks that get your blood pumping as you position your forces and prepare to engage the enemy. Each battle theme is carefully crafted to maintain the tension and excitement throughout the combat, making even the smallest skirmishes feel significant. Motoaki Takenouchi's use of instrumentation also deserves praise. Despite the hardware limitations of the Sega Genesis, he managed to create a rich, layered sound that felt full and vibrant. The use of synthesized strings, brass, and percussion gives the music a grand orchestral feel that elevates the entire game. Whether it's the haunting melody of a dungeon theme or the victorious fanfare after a hard-fought battle, the music of Shining Force 2 is unforgettable and perfectly suited to the game's medieval fantasy setting. The music of Shining Force 2 is more than just a soundtrack. It's a core part of what makes the game so special. Motoaki Takenouchi's compositions are a perfect match for the game's epic narrative and strategic gameplay, providing a rich audio experience that remains iconic in the world of retro gaming. Whether you're battling fierce enemies or exploring the far corners of Grand Seal, the music is there, guiding you through one of the most memorable RPG experiences on the Sega Genesis. Shining Force 2 isn't just a classic, it's a cornerstone of the tactical RPG genre, and its influence can still be felt in the gaming world today. The game came at a time when RPGs were evolving rapidly, and it helped to define what players could expect from tactical, story-driven games on home consoles. While the Sega Genesis wasn't as well known for RPGs as the Super Nintendo, Shining Force 2 proved that the platform could deliver experiences just as deep and memorable as its competitors. One of the game's most enduring legacies is how it pushed the boundaries of tactical gameplay on consoles. Shining Force 2 built upon the foundation laid by the original Shining Force, refining and expanding its mechanics to create a more fluid and engaging experience. Beyond its gameplay, Shining Force 2 left a lasting impression on players with its memorable characters, story, and music. The emotional connections formed with the characters, the satisfaction of building the perfect team, and the thrill of navigating the game's strategic battles have all contributed to its status as a beloved classic. The legacy of Shining Force I can also be seen in the way it has inspired both fans and developers. Over the years, the game has inspired countless fan projects, including remakes, mods, and spiritual successors. The passion of the Shining Force community is a testament to the game's enduring appeal and its ability to inspire creativity and dedication. While the Shining series continued with several more entries, including Shining Force 3 on the Sega Saturn, Shining Force 2 remains the high watermark for many fans. In an era where remakes and remasters are bringing classic games to new audiences, Shining Force 2 is often mentioned as a title deserving of such treatment. Whether it ever receives a modern update or not, its legacy is secure. For those who experienced it during the 90s, it's a game that represents the best of what the era had to offer, a perfect blend of strategy, storytelling, and adventure. And for those discovering it for the first time today, Shining Force 2 remains a shining example of why retro games continue to captivate and inspire. Thank you for joining us. If you like this deep dive into the retro world of Shining Force 2, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep questing and keep gaming.